Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Today we will be discussing the final topic in our unit of non-communicable diseases, and it is accidents and injuries. So, an accident is an unexpected or unplanned occurrence which may involve injury, or it can also be defined as unpremeditated event resulting in recognizable damage, or you can also say that as that an accident is an occurrence in a sequence of events which usually produce unintended injury, death, or property damage. So if you wish to know about the burden of this problem, if you want to know how many accidents or injuries occur in the world or in a community throughout the year, then you will have to use certain measures or certain tools. Those tools may be for mortality, the proportional mortality rate, which will tell you the proportion of the deaths that can be associated or attributed to accidents and injuries. Then there is number of deaths per million population, that will tell you the number of deaths that occur due to accidents only per million of population. Then death rate per 1000 or 10,000 or 100,000 can be calculated for population, as well as for registered vehicles per year, vehicles of all type. Number of accidents or fatalities as a ratio of the number of vehicles per kilometer or passengers per kilometer can be a measure for measurement of mortality due to the accidents. Then deaths of people occupying vehicles per 1000 vehicles per year can be another measure for mortality. If you wanted to measure morbidity due to accidents and injuries, then you can measure it in terms of serious injuries and slight injuries. The seriousness of the injury is assessed by a scale known as abbreviated injury scale, and morbidity rates are generally less reliable because of underreporting and misreporting. Another thing that results from accidents and injuries is disability, and disability is a bit difficult to measure. Only the duration of disabilities are measured, and they are not a good measure because there are many other aspects to disability. For example, the psychological or social aspects of an accident or injury. We have all heard about post-traumatic distress syndrome or PTSD, etc. Accidents of various types that result in injuries are quite widespread in the world. You can see from this table, which gives you the data from 2008, that unintentional types of accidents, they account for uh, the number of deaths, and as given in the table in front of you, you can see there are road traffic accidents, poisoning, falls, fires, drowning, all types of accidents involved. Then there are intentional, which may be self-inflicted or violence against others. Or finally, we have wars going on in the world that also result in injuries and deaths. So, what are various types of accidents? The topmost are road traffic accidents that happen on the road. It could be in the vehicle or to the pedestrians or cyclists, etc. Then there are domestic accidents. On number three are industrial accidents. Then there are railway accidents, which we have heard quite a lot in our part of the world. And lastly, there is violence. Road traffic accidents are quite widespread, and approximately 1.35 million people die every year as a result of a road traffic crash. Uh, the WHO has set an agenda for 2030, which is part of Sustainable Development Goals, which has set a target of halving the global number of deaths and injuries from road traffic crashes by 2020. Then the road traffic crashes, these cost most of the countries 3% of their gross domestic product. So there is an economic impact of road traffic accidents as well. More than half of all road traffic deaths are among vulnerable road users. Those are pedestrians, cyclists, and motorcyclists. So these these three categories make up the most of the road traffic deaths. 93% of the world's fatalities on the roads occur in low and middle income countries, even though these countries have approximately 60% of the world's vehicles. So the developing and low income countries do not have as many vehicles, but the overwhelming majority, 93% of the deaths or mortality occurs in these countries. Road traffic injuries are the leading cause of death for children and young adults aged 5 to 29 years. We have already discussed it in adolescent health, that road traffic injuries are at the top of cause of deaths among this age group. Here is an infographic that can provide you an insight into the problem or the burden of disease or the burden of this event, road traffic accidents world over. You can see that 1.35 million people die every year in a road traffic accident, and road traffic injuries are the eighth leading cause of death in the world. It is the first leading cause of death in people aged 5 to 14, as well as in young adults and adolescents. And low income countries, even though they have only 1% of vehicles, they have 13% of the total deaths that are attributed to road traffic accidents. High income countries, although they have higher number of vehicles, 40% of vehicles, they have only 7% of the mortality due to road traffic accidents. This map from 2013 again shows you the incidence of road traffic accidents, the mortality due to road traffic accidents, in fact, per 100,000 population, and you can see the different countries are coded differently in color according to the mortality rate per 100,000. So what are risk factors associated with road traffic accidents? At the top is speeding, overspeeding, which is associated with road traffic accidents. Not limiting yourself to the speed limit that has been set at that particular road or that passageway, that results in mortality or morbidity due to road traffic accidents. Then the second one is distracted driving, which is a problem in our part of the world. uh, People using mobile phones or texting while driving, as well as not paying attention to their surroundings and not focusing on driving, and in fact being distracted. The third one is drink driving, and not only drink driving but driving under the influence of some drugs as well. So this is another major risk factor for road traffic accidents. The fourth one is not using safety gear, for example helmets. We do not have uh, the custom or the habit of using helmets in our part of the world, so that leads to uh, road traffic accidents and injuries. The final one is not wearing seat belts and not employing proper child safety equipment, for example child restraints or child seats that can be fixed uh, in the vehicles. So these are some of the risk factors that are associated with the injuries due to road traffic accidents. Then in low income countries, in poorer countries, there are certain other factors which are responsible for accidents as well as injuries due to those accidents, and these factors may be large number of pedestrians and animals who share the roadway with fast moving and slow moving vehicles. And there is almost no segregation of pedestrians from wheel traffic. There are no footpaths or sidewalks or whatever you call them. Then on the second, large number of old and poorly maintained vehicles. There is no proper maintenance of vehicles in our parts of the world or in poorer countries. So that is another factor responsible for RTAs and injuries due to RTAs. Then large number of motorcycles, scooters and mopeds in developing and poorer countries. Number 4, low driving standards. Number 5, large number of buses which are often overloaded. And number 6, widespread disregard of traffic rules. And number 7, defective roads, poor street lighting, defective layout of crossroads and speed breakers. And finally, the unusual behavior of men and animals which are using the roads or passageways. So how can we prevent road traffic accidents and injuries due to road traffic accidents? The first and the foremost is the data collection. We have to first of all know the amount of problem that is present in our communities and the associated factors. We have to collect the data, the number of vehicles which are not properly maintained, or the vehicles which do not have seat belts in them, on the or the number of people who do not use seat belts, etc. That kind of data collection is the first and the foremost thing in prevention. Second will be safety education. After you have collected the data and you know the risk factors that are prevalent in your part of the world, then you will try and educate your community, your people, about the proper way of using the roads, using their vehicles, and proper way of um, using the safety gear that is available in the vehicles or otherwise. Then on the third is promotion of safety measures. You can promote the safety measures if they are not present in the in the vehicles that are being used in your community or in your country. If your country does not have vehicles that have airbags or seat belts as mandatory, you can force your car manufacturers to employ those safety measures uh, in their vehicles, and make it necessary for them to include them in their vehicles. That is promotion of safety measures. And alcohol and other drugs, you can limit the sale, and you can make sure by legislation that there are strict punishments for driving under the influence. Or that is one way of limiting the driving under the influence thing. Then primary care, you must provide we must provide a system in your country for initial care of the people or victims of road traffic accidents. There must be a system present that is available, that is able to reach to the site of the accidents and able to extract the victims of the accidents and then bring them to the trauma centers, because we know that in cases of trauma or accidents, the first hour is the most important one. It is also called golden hour. So you must be able to provide such systems in your community, and we do have such a system in our community, which is 1112 rescue services. Then number 6 is elimination of causative factors. We have talked about causative factors. We know that the risk factors for road traffic accidents are um, we can reduce those risk factors or eliminate them altogether to reduce the road traffic accident incident. Enforcement of laws, we have already laws present for many of the things or many of the risk factors that are being observed in our communities, and by enforcing those laws you can make sure that road traffic accident incidence is brought down. And then there is rehabilitation services. We know that disabilities occur after the road traffic accidents. The community must have, the country and the community and the society must have rehabilitation services for such victims. And lastly, accident research. We must know how the accidents occur and what were the factors involved, so you can evolve your strategies as we go along. The other type of accidents that occur, they are domestic accidents, and these involve drowning or burns by flame, hot liquid, electricity, scalding, fireworks, chemicals, etc. And then there are falls, especially for children. Then there are poisoning incidents, for example, drugs, insecticides, rat poison, kerosene. Then there are injuries from sharp or pointed instruments, and lastly there are animal bites, and which also includes snake bites, etc. So these are domestic variety of accidents. And of course, apart from road traffic accidents and domestic accidents, there are industrial accidents, railway accidents, and violence. And that concludes our session, as well as our unit of non-communicable diseases. We have covered some of the diseases. I urge you to open your books and consult them and give them a reading. And that is all for non-communicable diseases. And in the next session, we will be starting a new topic. Till then, bye bye and thank you.